So if you've been following, we've been in the book of Esther. And today I looked at Esther chapter 6. And so in Esther chapter 5, if you remember, Esther threw a feast for the king and Haman. And at that feast, she asked the king for he and Haman to come to another feast the next day. Well, fast forward to that night, and the king can't sleep. Listen, God works in mysterious ways, y'all. Check this out. The king is having trouble sleeping, and so he tells one of his people to get the book of good deeds so that they can be read to him. So they get the book of good deeds, and they're recounting these good deeds of the king. And one of them is that Mordecai warned the king a little while back that a couple of his servants were actually plotting, scheming on him. So the king hears this and he's like, did we ever do anything for Mordecai for outing my servants like that? Because that was an honorable thing. We need to honor this man, Mordecai. If you've been following, you know that in chapter 5, the previous day, Haman had gallows made for Mordecai. The gallows were built for Mordecai to be hanged. But now the king is like, hey, we need to honor this man, Mordecai. So he summons Haman, and he's like, what should we do for someone who pleases the king? How should we honor him? And Haman, I've already told you, his ego is through the roof. So Haman is like, who else would the king be talking about but me? So he tells the king, oh, give him some of the king's robes and then parade him around town so he can be venerated. Because he thinks he's setting up an award for himself for whatever reason. But then after he finishes telling the king that stuff, the king says, all right, bet. Go ahead and get some of my robes and go ahead and get that done for Mordecai the Jew. And I'm almost certain that upon hearing this, Haman's heart was in his stomach and his stomach was in his feet. But Haman goes ahead and does what the king says. But after all that, he goes home. It says with his head covered and he was mourning. And so after he gets home and tells the wise men, his wife, all that had happened that day, Haman's wife warns him, if Mordecai is one of the Jews, you will surely fall before him. And while they're talking, the king's servants come and summon Haman for this feast that Esther prepared for him and the king. And that's Esther chapter 6 in a nutshell. Thanks for following along, but like always, go back and read Esther chapter 6 for yourself. Thank you for your prayers, for your donations. Please donate if you can. I could use the help. And stay tuned for Esther chapter 7 because the plot thickens. And keep in mind, this is real life. This ain't just a story. This ain't just a fairy tale or a fable. This actually happened. But I love y'all. Peace.